Hey folks. Whoa, my microphone's far away. Hey folks. David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Let's hop into this. We're going to talk about some important stuff today. Stuff that has to do with the self-publishing money pit, which is something that a lot of newer authors get sucked into because of the nature of this business and just what people are trying to achieve, what they want. I have a Substack article linked in the description, but I'm going to link it here again. And we're going to start by talking about a little bit of drama that has gone on in the self-publishing world this past week or two. And I'll sum it up for you, and then I'll tell you probably why it doesn't matter all that much as far as what people do. I realize my lava lamp's not on. Should I turn it on? It's not plugged in. Well, you know, if you want it to run, if you want something to on, you have to plug it in, you know? Isn't that the rule? Where's this going? Wrong way. There it goes. All right. Okay. Can't have the Writestream without the lava lamp, right? Marked by Jesse White back there, one of my favorite people. All right. So we'll start by talking about a little bit of drama, and then I want to dig into a bunch of the ways that people bid farewell to their money when they get into self-publishing. And this is because there are lots of people on the internet like me trying to sell you things. And the question is whether those things are going to give you what you want. And in most cases, the answer is no, hence why it's a money pit. I'm happy to say I had a very blessed Christmas. And I would say my continuing ongoing blessings is I have never lost money as a writer. I have only made money as a writer. And that's because I have a good sense of what I need to be doing in terms of business, like what I should make for people to listen to. And I have a pretty good idea about things. Like I have a good BS detector from being in other businesses in the past. And that has helped me avoid a couple of pitfalls that a lot of people fall into. And I am also, I've been lucky enough to be able to take stock fairly often about what I'm actually doing and why I'm doing it, and what kind of things don't matter, and what kind of things matter to me about this business and about being a writer or being a musician or being anything. So this is some important information, right? And I hope this doesn't like ruffle too many feathers of, I realize that when I say this, that like I can make enemies of people that are friends of mine. But I think the people that really know me and have done a lot of business with me in the past would probably agree with all of these things, and they know what it's like. There's only one like very mildly related product that I tend to sell that's related to writing, and that is my creativity manual, The Keys to Prolific Creativity. It's not an expensive book. And I did it so that I have all of these ideas put into one place. And one of the things I realize is that people's main problem is not most of the things that get sold to them as writers, but rather their ability to work, let's say. It is their capacity to work. It's their work habits that are actually holding them back. Not like they're not following a story formula. They're not writing to market. It's none of that. It's that they can't sit down and finish their manuscript. That's usually the problem. It has nothing to do with like the other things. So, you know, you can buy that. It's Keys to Prolific Creativity, and you do get it free if you are joining my Patreon, right? And so that is, I guess, another sort of service I sell, is that you can get some feedback and masterclass services through Patreon and is it Ko-Fi, Coffee, whatever you want to call it. You can get those services through there. I don't offer ads courses. I don't sell you a story method. I don't sell you any of that stuff because of some of the things that I'm going to talk about today. So let's start with the drama. Okay, we're going to start with the drama. And the drama is surrounding a guy named Mark Dawson. Now, if you don't know who Mark Dawson is, worry not, because virtually nobody else does either. And there's a important element in the fact that I'm pointing out that nobody knows who Mark Dawson is in this entire narrative regarding Mark Dawson. Hey, what's up, Adrian? Hope you're doing great. Not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous to hear about this subject. No, you shouldn't be nervous. You should be aware of what people are trying to take you for, what they're actually selling, what is their product. Now, Mark Dawson is a great example. So, in the article that I linked from Substack, basically, Mark Dawson has been accused of widespread, continual, and deliberate plagiarism. And it's technical literary plagiarism. What most people call plagiarism is not plagiarism. So, I've seen people calling this author a plagiarist because they made a character that was like another character, or they had a story that was similar to another story. You can make a point about that being unoriginal or something, but it's not technical plagiarism. Actual plagiarism is when you are presenting, in a literary sense, words as your own, which are not your own. So if I take a poem from somebody and I put it in a book and I don't attribute it, that would be technical plagiarism. So Mark Dawson does it, and then he drops all sorts of things into his books that are just stolen from other books. Allegedly, right? And you can look up the Reddit. There's a very long Reddit thread that has a lot of this stuff collected. And it's one of those things that the first thing I thought of when I saw it was, that seems like a lot more trouble than just writing a book, right? They're just writing a new sentence. What he was doing was lifting these individual sentences. And by lifting those individual sentences, he would take individual sentences, turns of phrase, whole quotations, and just drop them into his books. It's like, for me to stop writing a book and go, I need to go steal a line here, it'd be like more trouble than me just composing a new line. As we looked into it, there was a really good example where he plagiarized Stephen Hunter, allegedly. It's very close if you look at it. He changed like one or two words. Right. So Stephen Hunter's a well-known writer who writes with a lot of shooters in it. He wrote Point of Impact, which became a movie with Mark Wahlberg called Shooter. It's an okay movie. I like the book. I think the book is good. I've read it. So being a gun guy and talking to a lot of gun guys, he writes good things about people using guns. Okay. So Mark Dawson, when he got to a spot where he didn't know how to write something, he lifted something out of Stephen Hunter and changed like two things in a bad way. One of the things he changed was like the sniper rifle put his eye against the eyepiece. I'm like, he's going to be blind as soon as he fires that rifle, right? For anybody that actually spent time firing a rifle, it's like you don't put your eye against the scope unless you want to get kissed in a bad way. We call that a kiss, a scope kiss, all right? Why not just reference the quote? Because he wants it to be known as his words. And I think he does this for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think he comes across things where he doesn't feel confident writing it. So he just goes to Stephen Hunter, finds a scene, and just copies it. And then he also knows that 10 years later, this is from books from like 2013, 2015. He knows that nobody really catches on to plagiarism in the literary world. This kind of plagiarism. It took 10 years for anybody to notice, and they only noticed from like Amazon samples. They're like, that seems like a really interesting phrase. And it was like the harlequinade of youth. This word harlequinade. Well, I know what a harlequinade is based on the components of the word, but I've never used that word before. And I'm a pretty well-read dude. But, for a writer of Mark Dawson's caliber, which is like, kind of just schlock indie stuff, sounds like someone else wrote that. So this person went and looked it up, and sure enough, that sentence had been lifted from something else. So he came across the sentence, maybe wrote it down because he thought it was cool, and intentionally plagiarized it. Very weird, right? This is all alleged because the whole idea seems like this is so much more effort than just writing a sentence. But it brings up a couple of things that are really important about the indie sphere. Mark Dawson, nobody knows who he is, even though he claims to have sold 6 million books. And one of the covers for one of his series says 5 million books sold, right? Now, to put things in perspective, 5 million or 6 million is a lot. That's a tremendous number of books to sell. The vast majority of books don't even sell 1,000 copies. I think the majority of books don't even sell 100 copies. So you're in the top 0.01% by selling 5 million. You're in the territory of like Congo by Michael Crichton, right? Which became a major Hollywood movie. Or Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park sold 10 million copies. So if you've sold 5 million copies of a book, you're in the popular culture sphere, right? If you sell an album, if an album sells 1 million copies, that's a platinum hit. That's like a major hit record for that decade. And people listen to music. They don't read books like they used to. So it is, who's Mark Dawson? Only indies know who Mark Dawson is because he sells this ads for authors course. And I see it hawked all the time with Kindlepreneur, which still sends me emails because I bought their software at one point. And I would actually say that the what's it called? I don't know. They call it Publisher Rocket. It used to be called like Kindle Rocket or something. I can actually say that as far as software investments go, that's one of the worst investments I've made. It's one of the most useless pieces of software that I can think of for what I do as a publisher. And I'll get into the nitty gritty on why that is, but it's not that expensive. So I'm like, well, I can still write it off of my taxes and just try it out. And maybe it'll help me refine my algorithm tagging so that Amazon will sell more of my books. Turns out that model is well outdated at this point. But anyway, that's what people know Mark from, is that Mark Dawson sells this ads for authors course. So right away, you have to take a take a step back. How does he actually make his money? Does he make his money selling fiction books? No, he makes his money selling courses to authors. And there is this pipeline that happens from indie author to selling author services. One of the things you'll realize once you get into this business is that there is way more money in author services than there is in publishing books. A lot more. We're talking, and you have to think about it like this. If I'm selling an indie novel for $2.99, and let's say I'm making full 60% royalties on Kindle, right? How many copies do I have to sell to make $50,000? Because Mark Dawson also is kind of sort of roughly associated with this 20 books to 50K movement, which I will talk about. So I'm going to bring up my calculator. Let's take 50,000. 50,000. We'll divide it by, let's just say $1.99 in royalties per book. We'll be a little liberal with that, right? 2/3 royalties, 67%. You'd have to sell 25,000 copies of your book. Now, 25,000 copies is a New York Times #1 best-selling book, just so you know, right? So how hard is it, do you think, to sell 25,000 copies of a book? How big does your email list have to be? I'll give you a little bit of a hint, okay? I have an audience that totals around 50,000. People think that's big. That's small potatoes, guys. It's very small potatoes. If I put out a book, I can estimate that, of my audience, I will probably be able to reach about 10 to 15% of them with the message that maybe they ought to buy the book. And of those, about 10% will buy the book over time, right? So my 50,000, times 0.15, I can maybe reach 7,500 people if I'm doing it really good. And then of those, maybe 10% will buy the book. So 750 copies is about what I can expect to sell of a book. If my book is really a hit, and I've sold books that are in the range of like 5 to 10,000, I think my most popular books are around 5 or 6,000. So I'll have to look it up. I looked it up the other day. I think in total, I've sold close to 30,000 books, right? And I'm considered successful by people, right? So for me, I could figure with a 50,000 person following, I can sell about 750 books. So let's extrapolate that out, right? If you want to sell 25,000 copies of a book, how big does your audience have to be? So 25,000, we'll multiply it by 10. You got to reach 250,000. But to reach that 250,000, you have to multiply that. We'll multiply it by about 6? We'll do 7. You got to have 1.7 million followers to sell 25,000 copies of a book. So a big name YouTuber could sell 25,000 copies of a book, but probably not that many. If you want to make $50,000 and you're selling a course for 500, how many courses do you have to sell? 100. So to make your $50,000, you have to reach you have to have 1.7 million people that are willing to pay attention to you on some level. To sell a course, you only have to convince 100 people. So maybe you need to reach 10,000 people at the most, right? It's a tiny, tiny fraction of the amount of people you have to get to in order to make the same amount of net money, and not net money, gross money. That's not including any expenses, right? That's just your net, your gross royalties, your gross profit on a course, right? So there's a lot more money in author services, right? If you make book covers and if you charge $1,000 for a book cover, you can make one a week. That's $50,000 a year, right? But you sell a bunch of other things like that: ads, courses, ad services, all that stuff, right? So this is the reality about a lot of author services and a lot of indie authors. Mark Dawson is able to sell his Ads for Authors course built on the back of his success as an author. But how successful is that? If you look at that Reddit thread, they start to dig down and it's probably not 6 million sales, it's 6 million downloads. I'm like, okay, well, I've had like 50,000 downloads. That didn't mean anything. I think I've had like 15,000 downloads of Prophet of the God Seed that I just gave away, hoping people would review it. And I've had like 10 reviews over like 8 years, right? So just because someone downloads a thing doesn't mean they read it. That's why I call like Prophet of the God Seed probably my biggest failure. It was like the second book I published. And, you always want to build on your success, not like fall on your face. I didn't lose money on it. I've only made money on it at the end of the day, but it's one of those books that lots of people got from me and didn't read. So that lets me know that there's something wrong with the book. And then there's other problems with it. It was intended to be a book one of a series. Obviously, if it's going to be book one of a series, then that first needs to be successful for me to want to invest in that series. Plus, it was with an IP I made with another person who's no longer interested in developing that. So there's really no reason to continue Prophet of the God Seed. So when people are asking, hey, when's Deep Time 2 coming out? The answer is never. It will never come out. So I removed all series information from any book listing with Prophet of the God Seed. And the reason is because I don't intend to make a sequel at this point. I had a lot of stuff planned out to follow that story, but it's not going to happen because of all the practicalities of it. It's just not going to be worth the effort. Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing. It's like that's the proof in the pudding is in the eating. Nobody knows who Mark Dawson is, which means anyone that read his books forgot about who he was and didn't care about the books. It had zero cultural impact for the amount of copies that he got out in the world. You dig a little deeper, you find out, he doesn't even really run his own ads. Maybe he's good at using ads to sell his books, right? But he uses an agency for that too, apparently, or allegedly. So you have a guy who doesn't even write his books. Now, and another possibility is that he used ghostwriters. So this is another thing in the indie sphere, is that lots of indie authors want to use ghostwriters. Why do they want to use ghostwriters? Why is that? Because they don't really want to write books. That'll be my next Substack article. Please, anything but making me write a book. Oh yes, I'm an indie author, right? And it's actually the same thing with traditionally published authors as well. Trad authors are very much, they hate writing. They spend all their time on Twitter complaining about things and not writing their book. And so thus the book is never finished. What they want is to be an author. And what the indie writers want is to be an author. That is, they want to be a thing. They don't want to do a thing. They don't want to write. They want to be a writer. It's something that it's an old chestnut, like most activities you like for themselves. Like you enjoy skiing, right? But only writing do you enjoy having written, like having done it in the past. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I enjoy the process a lot, which is why I share so much about it. And I want other people to enjoy the process and find a process that's enjoyable and productive for them as well. That's why I wrote a creativity manual. It was not because of any reason other than I noticed people were failing at the process part and not enjoying it, right? And anyway, so yeah, indie authors don't want to write their books. They want to hire Filipinos to write their books for $100 and then to just work on marketing, right? So they can call themselves an author. Why would you want to call yourself an author of all things? Like, oh, well, there's a prestige with it, because there's a prestige in being like a William Faulkner or, Ernest Hemingway or something. You can't be Ernest Hemingway while hiring ghostwriters, and you can't be Ernest Hemingway while using a bunch of marketing tricks to schlock your books at people who forget about them. You can only be Ernest Hemingway by writing books that are good and have an impact and that people grab hold of, right? You can only be a Stephen King by not just by writing a lot of books, but writing a lot of books that people enjoy reading. Okay, so the thing that tends to be forgotten in there is like writing the book. If you don't enjoy writing the book, you're in the wrong business. Go do something else. If you're going to spend your time, like if you're excited about marketing a book, there's a lot better products that you could market. You could get into an Amazon business of like drop shipping or designing products for people and selling them that would be way more profitable per unit. That's why so many authors go from like publishing books and making nothing to selling ads courses for authors. In fact, I think the only mainstream article I found with Mark Dawson was a Guardian UK article mentioning that he bought copies of his books to put it at the top of the list to rank it up. And the number of copies he bought was 400. To put things in perspective, 6 million, he could get to the top of the list by buying 400 of his own book. How many do you really think he sold? How true do you think this really is? Because my bullshit meter is pegged as far as that. And it's always been pegged when people are selling ads courses. And you just have to think of it like this. What am I doing? I'm writing. Okay. What do I want to be? I am what I do, which is I'm a writer. Do I want to spend my time A/B testing 20,000 keywords in a bunch of different Amazon ads, dropping $5,000 a month into it to try to game a robot, to like try to discover the will of the robot for what the robot what does the robot want me to enter into these data points? And what does the robot want to give to people? What kind of book does the robot want to show to people, right? I don't want that job. There are many jobs I can do to get to $50,000, right? Now, if you're watching this now and you're not making $50,000 US a year, don't worry. That's just like the median income for the United States. That's why 20 books to 50K works so well as a sell, is like, you could write books and make $50,000, the median income of the United States. I made like 80 grand as a teacher, right? So I could just go back and do that. I'd go be a public school teacher and make a grip of money because I have way too much education, right? And I'm always on the very far right of whatever salary schedule I end up with, right? If you don't know how to game the salaries, how teachers game the salary schedules, that's how it works. You just do a lot of continuing education, and before you know it, you're making well over the median salary, and you're making a lot more. So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is, there's lots of things you can do to get to $50,000, right? Adrian says, it astounds me how fake some people are. Yeah, I know. I have a hard time being real because I'm so fake. Why are you so old? I am old because I was born 40 years ago. That's how it is, right? And then you get gray hair because I actually started going gray when I was 19. Fun fact. So I've had gray hair for a long time. But it looks pretty gray in this light. I can actually, why don't I degray it? Watch this. Degray filter. No more gray hair. Look at that. We turn on the warmer light and the gray fades to like a soft blonde or something, right? That's a little trick, right? If you want to cut down on the gray, like the more amber the light, like now we're like, sepia toned. I don't look quite as gray. Like here, these walls are actually not gray. Like the camera's slightly off. Those walls are like a cream color. So this is actually closer to what the color of the walls are. But you can tone down the gray a little bit by like, turn on the warm light. The warm light. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's the drama with Mark Dawson. You can look up that Reddit thread and look up the article that I wrote about it if you want a little bit more info about it. But one of the things that you have to watch out for as an independent is the fact that there are many service people out there trying to sell you your vision. What's the vision? The vision is, I want to be an author. I want to be well-liked and well-respected. I want people to think well of me. There's many things. Maybe you want that $50,000. You want to be able to make a living without having to do a job that you don't like. Now, the thing is like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to not have to do a job I don't like? Yeah. But to get to $50,000, apparently I have to do a job that I don't like. So there's a matter, right? So it's like, well, you got to take a book and you have to write it in this niche, this micro niche. And then you got to write 20 book series, and then you're going to market it. You're going to spend $5,000 a month on marketing and make it all up on the back end. It's like, that sounds like a job that I hate. I don't want to A/B test 20,000 keywords. I want to write freaking books. Okay. So I'm doing a job that I hate to get to $50,000 instead of doing a job that I maybe mildly dislike. Well, I'll do whatever the most pleasant thing is that will allow me to provide for my family. I'll go drive a truck. I don't mind going back to driving trucks. Okay. I'd rather drive a truck than write garbage fiction for 12-year-olds or whatever who forget this story after a month, or after a week. Where I can get 5 million downloads and nobody knows who I am. Rather drive a truck, no big deal. No big deal. So, all right. So with that background there, which you can look into, here's what you need to worry about. How do you stay out of the money pit? Well, as a person who managed to stay out of it, the first way is not to spend money. So how do you not spend money as an author? Well, think about all the things that are required to get a book published. Once you understand that, then you're going to know where all of the upsells are going to be in the process. So technically, you can publish a book for $0. So the bottom end, the entry point is $0. Are you going to have the best things that you need to position yourself to sell the book or make a good impression on people or whatever for $0? As a beginner, probably not. But you can get good enough for $0. That includes software. You can do everything with free software. You can do everything with OpenOffice and with like Inkscape and GIMP if you need to. Okay. So yeah, $0. That's your entry point. So how do people lose their ass self-publishing? It's because they buy lots of services that they think will create an ROI, a return on investment, which then do not create an ROI or return on investment at all. Okay. And we'll go through a couple of those. Which ones can you expect an ROI on and how much the ROI and how should you think of it? So here's how you should really think of return on investment. It's not just what the return on the investment is, but how long it takes for that investment to yield back to $0. So you go into the red by spending money, by investing it in some kind of product, right? Book cover or something else. How long does it take to get back to $0? And if you hadn't done that, where would you be relatively? Okay, so that's what we want to think about. So writing the book, what does it cost to write the prose? $0. Okay. No, right? You're not, unless you're renting a computer, right? So it's just the cost of a computer, I guess, or like, a notebook maybe, right? Or I think now you could probably write it on a notebook and like have an AI scan it off the notebook into your phone and even publish it that way. That might be an interesting thing to try out sometime. It's like, can you write a story in a notebook and then publish it from your phone? So for people who have no computer, and of course, if you have a phone, you can even hook a keyboard up to an Android phone at least and like write a book with that. No problem, So yeah, it doesn't cost anything to write a manuscript. Editing. Do you have to hire an editor? Editors will tell you you do. You don't have to. How much will an editor improve your sales? It depends how bad you are at writing. If your initial manuscript is trash, then the editor will potentially improve it a lot, but it depends on the editor because lots of people selling you editing services are not good at their job. Let's be real. Most editors are in fact bad at their jobs and are just looking for a way to be a parasite on somebody else's work, telling you must edit, you must hire an editor before you publish a book or no one will take you seriously. Obviously, no editor caught all of the plagiarism, right? That has allegedly been done by Mark Dawson or his ghostwriters. which he didn't catch from his ghostwriters if he hired ghostwriters. I'm not saying he did, but seems like something a ghostwriter from the Philippines might do. Obviously, if you hire an AI to write your books, and this is one of the things that struck me a lot, was like the indie authors were the first guys to jump on AI. Like, how can I use AI to write 40 books a year? I'm like, what are you doing? Are you an author? No, like I plug in all the plot elements and then it'll write the book according to this micro niche. I'm like, well, you're using a robot to work for a robot. You're not writing. You're not a writer. You're not an author. You're not anything. You're a marketing arranger. You're like an orchestrator of marketing forces designed to sell garbage to people that they forget about and they don't like, maybe, right? Zero impact on the world or on other people. Why would you do that? It's stupid. It's like, oh, I'm a musician, and by being a musician, what I want to do is I want to have an AI that makes songs that are really specifically copies of these other songs, and then I'll sell them under my name and take credit. It's like, you're not a musician, you know? You're just like a guy talking to robots and then trying to sell things to other robots. It's stupid. They were the first people to jump on the AI writing thing. Like, how can I avoid writing books? How can I get the robot to write the books for me so that I don't have to spend my time, and I can spend all my time A/B testing 70,000 words. Oh wait, maybe I can get the AI to write the ads for me. I'll get the AI to write the ad copy for me. I'm out of focus. Let's get in focus. All right. I got the AI to write the ads for me. I'll get the AI to write the blurb for me. I'll get the AI I'll automatically do the ads with the AI. It's like, I would have an AI do all the crap that I think is not writing, right? If I could tell an AI, maximize my ads. And of course, master, maximizing your ads. And like monitor all that for me. It's like, hell yeah. You know, that's not writing. That's not me being creative. That's not me doing me. That's like, I don't feel happy doing marketing, right? I don't know anyone. I shouldn't say that. I know people who are, but like what they would rather be doing was like working on marketing cool products. Like, I'm going to sell this keyboard, or, you know, I'm going to sell trucks, right? Not like I'm going to sell indie books for, if I can reach the top 0.001% make median income. Stupid. So yeah, you don't really have to hire an editor. Will an editor make your book sell better? If your writing's really bad, then yeah, you know, the editor can help if he's a good editor. Most editors are bad. They're just trying to make a dime like everybody else. And their own books are probably not selling well enough that they can not be an editor. They need to be an editor, right? They're just looking for more work. They're just looking for more stuff to do. And that's like me. I'm always looking for more. If you want to hire me to do a book cover, I'll do a book cover for you for money, right? I'm always looking to make an extra buck, right? I don't do editing because I just don't really want to edit other people's books. It's not worth it to me like that, doing that. But, you know, maybe because I'm not like coming out charging a huge amount of money for that service, that people aren't, you know, I've had lots of people ask me to edit their books, and I'm like, I don't do that. I'll give you the information to make your book as good as possible. And then, you know, you can figure that out afterwards. But this is like a cultural thing, is that they've sold everybody on this idea that you have to have an editor. It used to be publishers, if they hired editors, it was to like kind of a CYA. It's like the editor's going to cut the manuscript into something that we know we can sell, because we have a financial interest in this, in getting this book out. It's fine. You know, that's them crafting the product, and the author's just sort of writing the initial thing, and then, you know, you're editing it into something else there. So no, you don't really need an editor. Will an editor make your book sell better? Not really. If you're getting 1-star reviews because your book is terrible, yeah, your book's not going to sell. But you may hire an editor that doesn't end up getting you anything better than 1-star reviews still. So there's plenty of people who've had very well edited books and then they get a 1-star review, or they hire a proofreader and there's 2 typos and someone gives them a 1-star review for it. It's like, oh no, I paid someone and it still didn't stop the 1-star reviews. Like, you're going to get 1-star reviews from people no matter what. It's going to happen. You can write there's 1-star reviews of the best books ever written. Sorry, there's 1-star reviews of Lord of the Rings. Okay. So you just deal with it. Right. So you have to keep in mind that, like, yes, Why would you hire an editor? Well, you'd hire an editor because you feel like you need the services of an editor to make the book what you want it to be. That's why you hire an editor. Okay? That you want expert outside eyes to help you judge and fix your manuscript. Don't look at an editor as like like I'm going to make more money with an editor. You probably won't, unless, like I said, you're really bad, in which case it might be a good value sell. But at that point, you're kind of paying for education. That educator's going to that editor's going to educate you a little bit, and that's good. So no, you don't need an editor. Okay. Cover. All right. Cover. This is probably the only thing that I would say, hey, if you're going to spend money on anything, spend money on the cover. I say that I design my own covers. I don't spend money on it. Why did I learn to do that? I learned to do that because I figured out that even a cheap cover will work fine. I enjoy designing covers, but it also immediately puts me in the black. If I sell one copy of a book, I'm in the black. Great. I never feel like I'm a loser who doesn't sell enough books. If I had spent a lot of money on a cover for Al Shafalda, for example, which is a book that I didn't expect to sell well, and it didn't sell well, and that's okay. I feel really bad that I lost money on that. So yeah, a cover, spend as little money as possible on the cover to get one good enough to bring to market. And you can get one for $50. So that's a $50 investment if you want your cover to look decent for whatever genre you're in. If you're writing genre fiction, or design one yourself for $0. So potentially $0, maybe $50 on the low end. You're going to write the blurb yourself. You don't need to hire a copy editor to write the blurb. So you don't need to spend money on that. Other people say you do, but you don't. And then boom, you're at maybe $0 to $50 to publish your book. Not hard to make back that $50. But if you're a new author, even that $50 can be a money pit, because in order to make that $50 back, if you're selling a $2.99 ebook, you're going to have to sell 75 copies. Do you know 75 people are going to buy your book? Chances are when you're first starting out, 10 people who will buy your book. And that's mom, pop, aunt, uncle, right? Yeah. Tia's going to buy you a book. Going to buy her nephew's book. Opa's going to buy your book. But, the hard part about being in the business is selling. Ideally, you want to sell books to other people that don't know you. That's the other thing that people want from being an author. They want people to love them. And so you notice that people that have maybe daddy issues, let's say, it's why do they want to be famous? It's well, I want people to love me. Okay, yeah. Well, it's a lot easier to not care about fame if you have real people in your life who really love you. Because being famous won't make anybody love you deeply the way your mom does or your wife. So anyway, yeah, potentially $0. Let's talk about all the ways. Now, after that, there's advertising and stuff, right? Do you need to advertise on Amazon? The answer is no. And in fact, I wouldn't recommend it for 90% of people. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody that doesn't have a really stacked bank account that they are willing to burn money on to figure out how to advertise, or willing to hire an established firm to probably burn that money and still not have it successfully sell your book. Okay. Let's talk about all the ways that you'll find the industry will find ways to suck your money out. So potentially $0 to really do your book. Well, first of all, they'll sell you a course on how to write a book, right? Here's a writing workshop for how to write, because you're a new writer, you're not confident. If I just told you, instead of going to that writer's workshop, if you wrote a writer's workshop, let's say it's 20 hours. If you spent 20 hours writing, you'd get more out of it. If I told you, instead of going to those writer workshops, taking creative writing courses, write 1,000,000 words. Set a tally, start writing, write 1,000,000 words. You will be better at the end of that 1,000,000 words than any of those people who attended all those classes, because they didn't write 1,000,000 words. They didn't do the work. Okay. You got to get the suck out. Okay. Write 1,000,000 words and maybe publish them, but probably flush them down the toilet or put them to the side to be edited later once you know what you're doing. Write 1,000,000 words. It's going to teach you a lot more. So they sell you creative writing courses. Think about someone who has a degree in creative writing or a degree in literature. They spent $100,000 on that, maybe less. Maybe they went to state college. $40,000. So they're $40,000 in the hole on their author dream by going and getting a college education in literature that they actually didn't need. If you had spent 4 years reading books and writing 1 million words, would you be better or worse than the people who went to the university? And the answer is, I would put my money on you'd be better, because the people in the university, are they spending that time really writing? Are they spending that time on their craft? Are they pumping out, 1 million words? You can write that in a year if you just skipped school and worked part-time and wrote 1 million words. You'd get all that work done in a year. You'd be so far ahead. And then any kinds of things that you're missing, you can pick up as you go. Just look at the reading list instead, right? Okay, I want to get a literature degree. What books are they teaching? Go find those books and just read them. It's free. They're free at the library. $0. Go rent them or go borrow them from the library and read the books that are on the college reading lists. You want to understand, you want a degree in women's studies, just go, it's a reading list degree. Just go get the books and read them. Okay. And skip the whole like writing essays stuff. Like, I need a feminist analysis of Crime and Punishment. No, you don't. You just need to read Crime and Punishment and think about what Dostoevsky meant. Think about his Orthodox faith instead of writing an essay for your liberal arts teacher. You're going to take courses on like story writing, how to write the ideal story for a genre. You're going to take courses in writing to market. You're going to take courses in advertising. You're going to take courses in the ads are big. You're going to hire an editor. Maybe you're going to hire a proofreader. Maybe you're going to hire a cover artist for $1,000. Okay. It's really easy to drop $20,000 into a book without thinking about it. After you publish it, then you need to advertise. You need to take the $500 or the $1,000 you spent learning how to market, and then you got to go apply it, and you got to take your $10,000 bankroll and go start gambling with it in Amazon AdWords and hope that you come out the other side of it. So most authors are in the fake it till you make it area until they can start selling their services to other authors, because that's where the money is. Yeah, baby. Okay. That's the reality. So how do you avoid that? Well, you just avoid it, right? I make tons of free videos on writing. So if you're new to writing, I have a ton of free videos on that stuff. I have a ton of free videos on publishing, how to publish a book. I even have let's go from, and I'm probably going to do this. I'll do a live write starting in a little bit. I'll write for an hour for you guys, and we'll continue the book that we started. And when that book is done on this channel, we will go through the publishing thing live. I will design the cover live. I'll draw a map for it. We'll draw a map. We'll put the entire book together. We'll format the paperback live, and we'll publish it live. And you can all buy it. Actually, you won't need to buy it because you will have seen me write the story live. Okay. So how do you know my book is not AI written? Well, it's because I wrote it live on the air, and that's how people are going to know. That reminds me, like, English teachers are like, how are we going to catch students using AI? How are we going to catch them? I'm like, have them write the essay in class. It's not that hard. They're like, but then they won't have homework. They'll go home and be free. We can't have that. Or it's like, well, if they're writing it in class, they won't write as well. So adjust your grading rubric. Take a meaningful assessment of your students and where their writing ability is at, rather than their ability to have their mom help them or their aunt or something. Have them write the essay in class. Then when AI didn't write it, and if it sucks, you know exactly how much they suck, and you can actually give them feedback on what they wrote and how they did it. You have an idea of what they really write like, not what they edit like, right? What they write like. Okay. It's so easy to solve so many of these problems. How do we keep kids safe online? Put the computer in a place where you see the screen. This was an issue when I was at my last teaching job, which Adrian was actually at that school. They're like, how do we keep kids from looking at bad websites with their Chromebooks? And the answer is, I'm like, you put the teacher desk actually at the back of the class. I had mine at the front for a long time, and people were always goofing off. So I started just getting up and going to the back of the class all the time. Then I could see what was on everybody's computer. All right. So like computer labs, how do you keep people from doing that? I'm like, you put the teacher's desk at the back. You're so used to looking at people in the face instead when they have a little laptop in front of them. It's like you got to turn around so you can physically see what they're doing. It's not that hard, right? It's pretty easy. I'm like, this is the only way that you are actually going to keep kids safe online. Or like, by safe, we mean like not looking at pornography during school hours. Is you have to just physically see what they're doing. And if you don't see that, you're never going to be able to do it. There's no firewall you can erect that a kid, an enterprising high schooler cannot get around. How do I know you're not an AI? The entire stream could be AI. Well, it's not there yet. Maybe in the future. You won't know. I've seen like Kiss trying to create digital avatars of themselves. So like after they die, like their AI avatars can continue playing Kiss songs forever. I'm like, this is the most horrible idea I've ever heard of. Just right into the sunset, guys. Take your millions of dollars and go retire and have fun in your old age. And stop worrying about Kiss. Stop worrying about people loving you so much. Okay? It's like, we can't stop being famous. I don't want anyone to not know who I am, says Gene Simmons to himself. It's okay, Gene. It's okay for people to forget about you. Eventually they're going to. You'll be dead. Right? And if you don't believe in God, then why does it matter whether they remember you or not? You won't be around to care. Right? Now, of course, like, the Christian tradition, we remember people, remember saints and things, remember our ancestors. But anyway, how do we know we're not all AIs? And this is a simulation. Any advice for overcoming the fear of publishing your first book and everyone hating it? Well, okay. That's what it is. It's love. Does anyone in your life love you? Will the people in your life love you if you get a 1-star review? Do you meaningfully believe they will change their opinion of you and what you do based on what another person thinks about it? If the answer is no to those, then you don't really need to worry about the 1-star review, except in like business terms, right? So like in business terms, you may care about the 1-star review because you don't want 1-star reviews on your books because they're a bad, there's what we call the social proof. Oh, that's another cost. Paying for reviews. So what a lot of successful authors will not tell you that they do is pay for reviews. And there's many ways that you can pay for reviews that aren't exactly paying for reviews, not just providing free copies, but you can just pay marketing firms to just make reviews for you. Go on Amazon, click a random product of like some random Chinese brand and look at those product reviews. Do you think those are real? They're not real. How many authors do you think are exploiting that, knowing that like their ass is on the line and that they need to sell a book? Of course they're paying for reviews, right? Of course, I've never paid for a review, but you can bet, I will bet many dollars that most of the artists that you see at the top of the list, especially the ones you're like, who's that? They paid for reviews. A bunch of artists got banned from Amazon a while back because they were, or not artists, a bunch of writers. They got banned from Amazon a while back because they were paying these Chinese firms to click through Kindle Unlimited. So they had Kindle Unlimited accounts, and then they would download the book and click through it. And so it would show up as a bunch of page reads on Kindle Unlimited, which would boost the rank of the book. And therefore, when someone was searching for a relevant term, their book would be at the top because it was a bestseller because a bunch of Chinese people were like out, clicking. Click, clicking through all the pages. There were guys who put scripts in. So like when you open the first page and you press the next page button, a script would run that would just flip through 1,000 pages really quick. So you download a book, it'd have 8 extra books attached at the end. You click it, it would click through 1,000 pages and then start you with the book that you downloaded. And then it would count as 1,000 KU page reads, and they get paid for that, right? So there was all kinds of scams. They got banned for that, but there's still lots of Chinese click farming that happens with KU, I assume. They just download, click through it. You're paying to rank up. And you do get money from KU sort of for that, but like you're really paying to rank up the book so you can hopefully sell more copies. Do you end up selling more copies? And I think the answer may be no. I think like Amazon rank may just be illusory for lots of people. They're like, I got a #1 book. And how many copies did you sell? 21. Like, congrats on your 21 copies, dude. But like this one over here that's ranked 10 has like 8,000 reviews and has been out for 20 years. I bet you that like that one has a bigger impact. It's like, yes, I've had books ranked up #1 on Amazon before. What does that mean? Right? I don't know. I wasn't selling so many books that I was like, yes, I'm a #1 Amazon bestseller. It's like, I can say that as like a social proof, right? Hey, this was a #1 Amazon bestseller. Best-selling author, David V. Stewart. It's like best-selling in an Amazon category, right? You look at the New York Times bestseller list. Are those the best-selling books? And then you find out that they're not. What? Yeah, it's just an editorial selection of books. It's not a list of books that sold copies. It's not like the charts. And even then, the charts used to be illusion too. They didn't really track record sales. It was kind of a roundabout way. They're just like, it's a #1 because we said so, It's all illusions there. Sound engraver. I got a new cool instrument. My wife and my mom bought me this instrument for Christmas. I thought of you because you play strings. Let me unhook this thing so I can get it on camera. Oh, it's way heavier than the old one. It's the Push 3, the Appleton Push 3. This thing is rad. I'll do a demo of it. But basically, the pads, you can do vibrato on them. Like, you do vibrato on them, and it's like, what? Now I can, like, do vibrato almost as a keyboard player or, like, anything. And, like, you can crescendo by pressing harder. It's extremely cool. So, very, very cool expression on this beast. This is the standalone. So now I don't even need a computer. Like, it's an instrument from the future. And you look at it, you're like, what is it? It's an instrument from the future. I'll compare it. I have the Push 2. I use the Push 2 a lot. That's what the Push 2 looks like. Oh. There we go. That's the difference. The Push 2 is like a really cool controller for Ableton Live software. The Push 3 is like a new instrument. It's like something someone just invented. But yeah, it's really cool. I just sit there and like, oh yeah, and it's just like you're doing normal vibrato. It's like, as a string player, it's amazing. It's like, oh, it's so intuitive. Like, it just do so much expression with your fingers, and you can do it with 2 hands or 2 notes at a time. I'm like, I have to invent a practice method for it because this is like no one has systematized how to play this instrument or how to practice it to be technically proficient at it. People just kind of figure it out. I'm like, well, I got to create a system for like, how do I practice scales and all the different ways to practice scales on it so that you can like shred on it. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm sure most mobile games are buying reviews. Oh yeah, over 10,000 reviews and a 4.5 stars in this cheap-looking game? Yeah, right. Oh, you bet it. I mean, I wouldn't trust reviews now at all. It used to be reviews were this essential social proof. Do you trust reviews on Amazon? I don't. Not anymore. I don't trust them. And in fact, the brand has a bigger impact on me than the reviews. And I only look at the reviews relative to the brand. So I'll give you an example because I have them right here in front of me. These guys. Oh. Sony's not paying me. I'm not on Sony. If you'd like to pay me, I am definitely for sale. I need my 50K. I need to get to my median income. And I'm not selling enough author services. So I need some product. I need you to pay me for some product placement. Anyway, these are the Sony Link Buds. These have like a fairly low review for a Sony product. Like 3.5 stars. That's a real rating. Now they're great. I'd actually give them 4 stars. Not 5, but 4. They're good. They're really good. They have one of the most clear sound stages I've used of any kind of like earbud. type device. It sounds like you're listening to speakers like on your desktop. They're really good. They're super crystal clear. Especially, I have a Sony phone that just interacts well with them. We have 360-degree spatial audio. Really enhances the way that a lot of speakers work. Sounds crazy, sounds stupid, but it makes a difference. Like you could turn it on, turn it off. You're like, whoa, the music sounds like it's in speakers in front of me versus like something assaulting my eardrums, like pressurized eardrum attack. Totally different effect. Anyway, that has a real review here. So 3.5 stars on a Sony. You bet that that's real because Sony is a big enough brand that it doesn't need to buy reviews. And you look at the reviews, and the reviews are really fair. Some people give it 1 star because they're like, I don't like the bass. Or it's like got a lot of 2 and 3 star reviews. They're clear, but not enough bass. Okay, I understand that. These are not closed earbuds that will like put that pressure wave on your tympanic membrane. So yeah, they're probably not as bass heavy as a consumer would like. You go down the list, and then there's like a Chinese version of these. 4.8 stars. 4.8 stars, man. You're making a product that's better than Sony for like, half the price. Obviously, that's why. And you go and look, and it's like, go click the 1-star reviews. Like, didn't work, came broken, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at the 5-star reviews. Works great. Good product. I enjoy. It's like, those are all fake reviews. You know that the brand paid for a crap ton of fake reviews because it's not a brand. The brand name Sony will tell you so much more about what you're getting than the star reviews on Amazon or any kind of site that you happen to buy on. And stores that can't stock everything like Amazon know this. So if you go to Best Buy is only going to carry major brands. Why is Best Buy only carrying major brands? Don't they care about the little guy? No, they care about their customers being satisfied. And they know if they sell cheap Chinese garbage, they're going to have customers who are upset with them. And because they have physical stores and, they have extra service cells with like Geek Squad and crap like that, they only stock major brands. That's why. All right, so the brand name ends up having such a bigger impact. Now, bringing this back to indie fiction, what's the brand name in most indie fiction? No one knows who Mark Dawson is unless you have been one of those people thinking about buying his ads course, which I don't know why anyone would at this point. Do you want to be a marketer or do you want to be an author, right? If I were going to spend a bunch of money on ads, I'd rather just pay an ad agency to do all that than me to even think about it. Be much better to spend my time writing, unless there's no value in writing and all the value is in marketing. That's why indie authors end up doing this, is because they know that the time to money ratio is better for marketing than it is for writing. They get it. Their writing isn't special. They're not writing books that only they can write. They want to be loved by other people, liked, well respected. That's what they want. So they're going to spend a lot of money on ads, courses, and things like that. Let me check out the chat a little bit more. I think I missed some stuff. Very good, Mr. Stewart. However, you're simply a bit and oddly overqualified beyond the scope of our production interests. Some jobs like burger flipping are even a good start. They can. I have a friend who started at McDonald's in high school and ended up making way more money than I did by the time he was 30, right? He just worked his way up the corporate ladder. He worked his way through school. He got like a business degree, became a regional manager, ended up working for corporate. Like he actually climbed the corporate ladder at McDonald's and then used that as a way as a jumping off point for a career, So flipping burgers is great, man. It's a great place to start. Any place that, especially if you're young, any place where you can gain some experience for how a business operates is going to be worth it. And then you can always, when you get your next job, you don't have to work your way up at that job. You can get the next job and use that experience to get even more money. Writing for me is the fun part. Editing is work. Can't understand why people would want to leave the fun part to a machine and be stuck editing what it produces. It's because they know that they perceive that the time to money ratio for writing is like the lowest value. And they're just trying to make money and be an author. They want the title of author. They want people to like and respect them, and they want to have $50,000 per year. So they're gonna try. And writing is hard. It sometimes is really hard. It takes a lot of focus and effort to write a book. Okay, That's why I wrote that manual. It's like, if you just do it a little bit every day, you will be shocked at how much you're able to produce over the course of a year. You just got to stick with it. People don't want to do that. They want the swiftest possible course. And then the other thing they look at is like the conventional indie wisdom is like, you got to write 12 books a year and put out a book every other week, or you're never going to make any money. Well, how can I get to 12 books a year if I write slowly? Well, I'll have the robot write what I tell it to write, and then I'll just edit it into something that the market can tolerate. So yeah. Another thing, overcoming the fear for publishing your first book and everyone hating it. You can hire an editor to check through, to get those check boxes and give you that security. That will also give you that security. But main thing is like, from whence are you trying to get your love? Are you trying to get your love from strangers because you wrote a book, or are you trying to get your love from people who know you and have shared experiences with you and actually care about your well-being? So lean on what the people who matter think about it. And you know what? Maybe you release a book and it gets 1-star reviews and it sucks. What do you do from there? You can delete the book. You can just delete it when you self-publish a book. You can just delete the book. The other thing I was going to say about loving people, and I'll put this in my next article, is that the trad writing crowd, the aspiring author crowd, the writing community crowd, they also want love. But they want love and approval from like New York executives. They're like, someone who knows somebody in the publishing industry, even though I don't know any publishers or care really what they think. Somebody is going to say, I'm good enough. I'm good enough to have my book published. They are publishing my book because I am good and I'm good enough. Doggone it, people like me. It's just an affirmation thing. They're looking for love, right? And the main reason I'm an indie author is not because I think publishing houses are stupid. I didn't know anything about them when I started this. What happened was I wrote some books, and one of the books I wrote that I thought was really good and I wanted to publish it was called Muramasa Blood Drinker. Let me find a copy. We'll find a copy with the original cover, which I made for $0. $0 cover. Ooh, it looks pretty cool though, doesn't it? All right, so I wanted to sell this book. I wanted to publish this book, and basically I learned that no one would ever publish it in a million years because there is no such thing as a samurai fiction genre. It's a genre that doesn't exist. I'm a white person writing a story set in Japan. Big no-no. Even though Japanese people actually don't really care about that. They would just be like, oh, is it a cool book or not? They don't really care that someone who's not Japanese wrote a story set in ancient Japan. Okay. And yeah, so it was never going to get published. It was the wrong kind of book. So I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I throw the book away? I'm like, well, maybe I could put it out myself. I remember my sister mentioning something like, yeah, you could just, she's like, there's people who just got Barnes and Noble to publish their books. And I was like, okay, whatever. I hadn't even like, I had a Kindle at that point. So I knew that like Amazon Kindle stuff existed. And I just looked it up. I learned how to do it. Learned everything I needed to know. Studied it very seriously. Figured out how to design a cover. Did it with free software because I had $0 and published the book. And it turns out people liked it. People wanted samurai fiction. They thought it was a cool book, and they still do think it's a cool book. And there was a market for it. And that's the only reason that I'm an indie author, is because I found out from, the industry basically said, no, yeah, we're not going to, your book will never be published. They said that about the Silmarillion, by the way, too. Tolkien was told that the Silmarillion would never, ever, ever, ever be published. And it wasn't published until after he was dead, because at that point he was successful enough to get it published. So, yeah. I think Jordan Rudess employed the vibrato or something like that. Not as hefty, though. Yeah. There's other controllers that could let you use vibrato. And Jordan Rudess also plays guitar, by the way. So he's a multi-instrumentalist. He's best known as the keyboard player for Dream Theater. But he's also a guitarist and, a multi-instrumentalist and a great musician. So I have no doubt he'd be exploring things like this to see sort of where he could take him in the context of Dream Theater, or his solo stuff, or his, his other stuff. Like, what's the one he has? Liquid Tension Experiment. His instrumental stuff. Like, he's a I'm sure he's thought of this stuff. This gets me excited because it's the expression plus all the other control stuff. I could control a looper on steroids. I don't even need my computer to do it anymore. And I'll do a demo with this. I can use this as a guitar processor. I can plug my guitar into it and use it as a guitar amp. And it'll sound pretty good. That's pretty awesome. Like, pretty cool thing. So I could use it for so many different things. You know, you could plug an instrument into it, mic into it. It has a sound interface now. I'm talking about the Appleton Push 3. Based on what Sound Engraver said. My husband bought me the Nintendo Switch for Christmas. Awesome. I like it a lot so far. Playing the Mario RPG remake. Yeah, my son has been playing that. I bought that for my son. He had a bleed. He has hemophilia, so he had a bleed. We had to go to the hospital. And it was like a really bad experience. So we bought him a game for like the recoup part because it was so traumatic. We're just like, he wants this game. Let's just get him the game. My wife went and bought him the game. He really enjoys it. It's a lot of fun. He likes the writing. It's very silly, fun writing. Have you researched a Royal Road? Vanna Wolf says she has been building up an audience there quicker than through other methods. I have not, Hardwick, but that is a really good suggestion. We should probably put it on the Discord server as well. You get the Discord server if you're on any of my stuff like Ko-Fi or Patreon. It hasn't been super active the last couple of days because it's been Christmas, but usually there's a lot of good discussion on there about different kinds of things. Christian horror or whatever else. But yeah, it'd be good to know that, what Royal Road is. I'll look it up and make a look. Yeah, and the thing is like, I don't invest in a lot of other platforms. It's like, why isn't your stuff on Wattpad? Or blah, blah. I'm like, I only have so many brain cells to think about all these different things and time in the day to like upload things. Like, why don't you turn all your videos into podcasts and put them over here? I'm like, if I don't feel like anyone's going to listen to them, it's not worth the time or effort to do it. You know, if it's going to increase my listenership by 10, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like it's just an extra thing to do. And eventually you just have to kind of like, I need to focus and not do as many extra things in order to do the things that I want to do. Amazon reviews are totally broken. They're broken in so many ways. Speaking of Muramasa, I just finished reading Ready Player One, and the writing of the Japanese characters was embarrassing. You did a much better job of actually researching the topic. I usually get that feedback. They're like, wow, it was very historically accurate. I'm like, it's not. I know it's not that historically accurate, but I wanted to write a story, not a history book. So I took a lot of liberties with the setting. People who really know it will know all the liberties that I took, but it's not like, you know, it's not Samurai Champloo. Samurai Champloo was intentionally like anachronistic though, but like it's not that bad. But it's better than like a lot of Hollywood stuff probably, but they mostly think of like the samurai as like a gesture of an idea and not, it's kind of like Braveheart. We were talking about Braveheart on the Discord server. Braveheart's one of the most historically inaccurate movies. I think Braveheart's actually like a genius movie, but it's one of the most historically inaccurate movies that I can think of. They're like wearing their kilts, like actually backwards from how you normally wear them. They're wearing belted plaid, otherwise called a great kilt. No one wore that in like the 13th century, which I think, was it the 13th century? Either the 12th or 13th century. What am I thinking of? When was William Wallace? I'm going to double check myself. But anyway, the people weren't wearing that until like the 16th century. So hundreds of years beforehand. Yeah, we're in the 13th century. So at the end of the 13th, no one was wearing kilts. At the 13th century, no one was wearing belted plaid. Belted plaid's an outer garment, but they're wearing it like a kilt, but you belted the plaid around your regular clothes, so you might actually be wearing leggings or a tunic underneath it. And then you would wrap it around you as a blanket. It was like a cloak. It kept you warm because it's cold in Scotland, especially as you're leaving the medieval warm period and entering the Little Ice Age. And they wore it backwards. So they like had it belted, and then it was like a kilt, and then they had it over like this. But usually you belt it here and pull it around you like a cloak. So it's like, I've seen this. It's like, imagine in the future they made a story about the American Revolution, and everybody's wearing everybody's wearing 3-piece suits. But the 3-piece suits are like they're like backwards and the tie is like tied around your head. That's the costumes in Braveheart. And the story's totally crazy. Like William Wallace ends up doinking the wife of Longshanks's son, right? And impregnating her. So like he literally cucks the Prince of England or whatever. All this stuff it's just completely inaccurate. But it's an idea, it's a gesture. It's the Scotsman as this noble savage, like wearing the woad paint that probably the last people to wear it were like Picts in the 5th century, right? It's bizarre historically. But it's a gesture towards an idea. The idea of like the noble savage of the noble savage of the Scotsman fighting for freedom against the evil English who literally raped their wives on their wedding nights, even though that never historically happened. But you set it all up so that the bad guys are literal rapists, murderers, everything bad is the English. And then the noble savages who are actually really smart, actually really care. He actually speaks other languages, but they wear skirts and moon the army and, wear plaid and paint their faces. It's actually a really good movie. If you look at it as a fantasy movie, if it's like a fantasy movie, it's brilliant. If you're wanting some sort of historical drama, you're going to be like, whoa, the costume, everything's off, right? Elites telling people how to write their stories. Yep, because that never went wrong in the past. I had a friend who was told the same thing about a male protagonist in his story. Braveheart is one of the best inaccurate movies. I agree. One of the best inaccurate movies. RPO's Japanese characters are just kept talking about honor, and yet they are weebs from the 21st century. The Scottish and English armies would look very similar. That's true. They were most of the Scotsmen were from the lowlands, including William Wallace, which meant that they were possibly Saxons and stuff, which meant, they weren't even necessarily Celts, right? They could be Normans even. There was lots of Englishmen with Scottish titles and Scottish men with English titles and all kinds of things like that. Revolutionary War civilians wearing shorts and t-shirts. Yeah. That's what it'd be like. It's like completely bizarre. But there's a gesture to it. You can imagine future people thinking of Americans as like, these, on the one side, you had these high-class businessmen wearing suits. And on the other side, you had these poor peasants wearing like shorts and t-shirts. And like, that's what would be in the movie, even though the Revolutionary War, like there was nothing even close to that. So that's what it'd be like. All right, I'm going to take a very short break, and then we'll come back with a little bit of a live write, and that'll be a fun way to close this off. It's hard to go into detail about all the different ways that people get their money sunk, but the big point I want to go over here, the thing I want to emphasize is that people lose their money because they are chasing a dream, and they're chasing a dream that is not writing a great book, but is getting the benefits of being a great author, meaning they want to be recognized. They want other people to like them. They want to be an author. They want to be thought of well by other people, by their friends and family, as somebody who's successful and creative and those sorts of things. They want to make money and not have to do a job that they don't like. And so they will invest a ton of time and money in order to fulfill that dream. The dream, which is not itself writing the book, rather writing the book is part of the means to that end. And in a lot of cases, it's an unpleasant mean. They're not good at it. It's hard work. It annoys them. They feel like they're bad at it. So if they have an opportunity to skip that by hiring a ghostwriter or an AI writer, they end up doing that so that they can get closer to achieving that dream by spending less time and effort doing the most essential part of it, which is writing a book. And you see that with trad writers, and you see it with indie writers especially. But the big thing is you have to watch out for anyone that is selling you a course is making his money. What is his skin in the game? He doesn't have any skin in your game, right? He's not selling books to make money, or he would just do that. If someone selling you an ads course was making his money selling books, then he would just sell the books. and sip pina coladas on the beach and not give you an ads course or bother with that. He makes his money selling courses to you. He doesn't even make his money advertising. He makes his money advertising to sell the courses to you. You are the product, right? Not the book. He may have written some books in the past which he marketed, but that's just kind of a social proof. Chances are nobody who is taking Mark Dawson's course has ever read one of his books or ever cares to. They're in a genre they don't care about, and if they open up the sample, they'll be like, this book isn't for me. But clearly he's onto something if he was able to sell 1 million copies of a bad book. His marketing skill must be very high if he can sell his garbage to a high degree. So I should take his ad course. It's just a proof to sell the ad course to you, right? And allegedly he didn't even write his books. So what's their skin in the game? When their ads, when their method that they're selling you, take this Gumroad course on how to write a pulp book, take this Gumroad course on how to sell romance books. When his course doesn't work for you, does he lose his money? No, he has no skin in your game. There's no skin in the game. Okay. Whereas if you're hiring an advertising firm, they have some skin in the game. They want to keep you as a customer, so they want it to be successful. If you're hiring, anyone that is going to share in the downsides, that's really what skin in the game is. You share in the upsides, you should also share in the downsides. With a course, you set it up so you get all the upsides and don't have any stake in the downsides, and that's ideal, right? So keep in mind what they're selling and be aware that most of the people are saying, I'm a successful author. Let me sell you my key to success. Why would you sell the key to success? You would just have the success and not sell it, except maybe for free, right? Like you can, no interview with Lars Ulrich is he going to say, hey, you guys want to be rock stars? Come take my course on how to be a rock star. He's already rich. He's like, nah, man, we just worked hard. I'll just tell you what we did. What does he care about gatekeeping that information? He already made all his money by selling millions and millions of records, right? He's not selling you a course in rock stardom. Anyway, that's the thing to watch out for. Who has skin in the game? Who has skin in the game? Paragraph 7 of your Substack has a typo is instead of it. Maybe I'll fix it. Maybe I won't. Most lucrative job in the gold rush was the guy who sold people the shovels and pickaxes. Damn straight. You got an idea. That's it. Got an indie comic I'm involved with. Stars a soldier who loses his leg, then because he's stuck in a medboard process becomes a vigilante. Hard getting people to even know about it. It's a job promoting it. Yep. That's how it is. Right? That's how it is, unfortunately. So anyway, yeah, maybe I'll fix the typo. Maybe I will forget about it because I'm not going to edit it right now. But anyway, that's what happens when you write stuff and you got to ship it that day. Sometimes typos get through, especially with like blog articles that you just write and put out to the world. Okay. All right. I'm going to take a break and get a drink and come back and we'll do a little bit of live write and that'll be it. Be right back. And we're back. I guess the song finished up. Okay. Let's turn this light down a bit. Okay. We're unsupervised. They say we get up to mischief. I know it's the same with fitness influencers. They sell you a training guide PDF with info you can easily find online for free or from used books. Yep. I mean, you're not going to find very much fitness advice that is different from what you will find in Arnold Schwarzenegger's new encyclopedia of bodybuilding, which has more or less all the nutritional info that you would need, as well as what kind of exercises to perform to build muscles and what ways you should perform them. When you realize that like most of that is just, old information. It's not that hard to get that same info. You also have guys like Scooby, who was probably no one remembers him now as far as a fitness influencer, who made the whole point was like, I want to give people free workouts at home so that they don't lose their money on stupid things. It's a good example. All right, let me find this document. Put this up here. I need to check the Restream chat because occasionally there are chats from other platforms. People pay for the knowledge they don't have to when it comes to fitness because they don't want to accept the truth. Fitness requires strict dieting and hard work and lots of both. Yep. Merry Christmas to you too. Scooby and his skateboard squats. I remember the skateboard squats, where you grab dumbbells and then you put the skateboard on your back and you went up and down. People are like, this is going to kill your knees. I'm like, more than other things? I don't know. Probably won't. All right. I don't need this. That's Water of Awakening. Let's close that down. Boy, I got way too many windows open. Use that later. Appleton Live. When that's open. Turn that off. Turn that off. Good night. Don't need a calculator. Don't need that open. All right. Let's see what we got here. What was this called? I think I just named it after the first line. It just says I walk down the gallery. I may have begun another book with that, so I may rewrite the beginning here at some point. Let me find my software. Okay. Lower center. Is that what we want? I think that's what we want. All right. It's arranged nicely. There we go. Okay. All right, I got the notes here. Let's see. What's got here? All right. We got Xander. That's the character's name. It's been a while since I looked at this, so I kind of got to think about it a minute. You know what really kills your knees? Not doing anything. They don't just waste away, but they don't stay healthy. All right. Okay. Next section here. Let's make this a heading so we can pop down to it wherever we want to. All right, what's the one we're going to? Strandom was the one, right? Let me make sure I got it. Setting. It's the neighboring kingdom. All right. Solborg. Fisker Hall. There's another one that's like Fisker Hall, which means like Fishville. All right. Let me think of what Strandom was like. Let me conjure up some words here. Let's see here. Strandom was like an old scarred dog that had been bathed and powdered. It was once a fishing village. Made into a fortress. How about now? Sorry about that. Might cut out. The cable physically came out of the microphone. There we go. And stone. And the salvage materials. But being as time went on. Why don't you just make up a name with a G? Castillo. Make him like a foreigner. Let's see, that sounds southern to me. I gotta think of another name. Just it's like a throwaway name. He doesn't come into the story. He's not really important, so it doesn't really matter what we call him, I think. Let's just pick a random. I'm gonna get like a random old Germanic name. I want one that's a G. We'll just do Old Germanic names. Google it. Here, I'll show you. Just find one that we like, and we can like take it, just like alter it if we want to. Let's go to H-I-G. No, we went too far. Hrolf. Hrolf's. Find a good one that doesn't sound too. Gervas. Gilbert. Actually, I like Gilbert. Simple one. Geiselmund is a good one. Gismund. Goda. Godwine. Gottlieb. Gundar. Actually, I like Gunda, but that's a girl's name. Gumarich. All right, Gumarich it is, or Gunner. Gunny. Gunvald. Let's do Gunvald. I like Gunvald. Before we start getting into Guths. Guthrun. Alright, we're going to use... Gunther, Guntram, Guntram. Gonzalo. Gunborg. I think Gunvald. Either Gunvald or Godric. It's an Anglo-Saxon one. Let's do Gunwald. Instead of Gunvald, we'll make it Gunwald. All right. Yeah. I can spend hours on names. Gunnar was my favorite in Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Humperdinck. All right. Yeah. I need a word that's not perverse. It's almost nauseating. Perhaps that was why I had never and more austere. benefit to the chaos of a place like just random. Unnoticed. How do you spell unnoticed? Two N's? I guess. Unnoticed and unremembered. Have a hard time. This is dirty and heterogeneous. There we go. That's how you spell it. I could put on some music. Some of my music. Yeah, we could do that. It's a good way. We'll double dip. Here, let me find some here on YouTube. Oh, let's see. Let's see what we get here. Popular. Well, we'll do this one. Let's see. Turn it up a little bit. All right. That's a little drone music. Keep it cool here. All right. It's from my music channel. Looking forward to doing more of this with the new push. All right, yeah, almost practically invisible. Do this for about 20 more minutes. The role that names can play, though, says Le Guin's Tomb of Ataran. Names can play a big role. Their city was large. All right. Okay. I hopped off the raft as it approached the landing. Not looking back at the old man. Bothering. Give him a spare coin as gratuity. He thought of me. What was her name? Jarilla. I want to spell askance. the sea. All right. Just a little relaxing music. What was I looking for? A boy? A man? When does the party start? Soon. All right. What's he gonna say? Are there any foreigners there? Yeah. They're dark. See what I wrote here. Ba, ba, ba. Yeah, I like the word sojourner too. It's used a lot in the Bible. It's like, what does a sojourner mean? It's not just a visitor, it's someone who stays there for a long time. You know? Passing. Animal and human waste. Horses and wagons move through the narrow avenues. Hey, I've already written 3,000 words of this little story here. Oops. What happened to all my windows? They disappeared. There it is. There we go. It's good though. Now I can just see like my wallpaper. Just like rain. Rain. So like change every few minutes. This is like some AI generated apartment. Like some rain in some random city. It's nice, calming. There we go. Focus break, and they would know me. Let's think about the next thing. Well, now there's something on. This is like a Oblivion remix or something going on here. Let's pop on this. I went to a different video. Okay, let's do another one of mine. Yeah. Here we'll do a raid one. I did a 50-minute long piece I have on here, which is fun. Gonna go watch early stuff. All right, yeah, we're about ready to finish up because it's 8. Boy and a woman. We'll do a little backstory here. Ruland. Did I add an H to mer drag? I don't remember. Well, we'll fix it. We'll fix it later. Ruthlessly. When, let's do this better because we'll get a little more information. When Murdrag had murdered his brother, he had also like that. All right. Let's see how much we wrote today. We wrote about 1,000 words, so that's probably good. Guys, if you can write 1,000 words a day, you'll finish like 3 full-length books a year. 1,000 words a day. You can do what Stephen King did in his retirement, 1,500 words a day. You'll write even more. When he was seriously writing, he wrote 2,500 words a day. And while that may seem like a lot, it's really not a lot compared to guys who wrote at pulp speed who write 5,000, 10,000 words a day. Michael Moorcock would write a book over a weekend. So that was all possible. Okay. You can absolutely write 1,000. I wrote 1,000 words in less than an hour here. Okay. So, you know, an hour a day, you'll have a book in a couple months. How cool is that? So just stick with it. Stick with the process, and you will get there. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to call it here for today. We did 1,000 words. Next scene is going to be, I'm going to write down what the next scene is going to be. I like to do this in brackets sometimes. So the next scene is that, he sneaks to the house, finds the boy has a crisis of conscience, conscient. All right, there we go. Make sure to save your work as you go. I think that's going to be it for today. So thanks so much for stopping by for this one. I'll do another live write later in the week. I didn't get to do one on Saturday this past time because we're coming up on Christmas, and that's how it goes, man. Christmas keeps you busy. But anyway, I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out with me during this time. And let me link the Patreon, so you can join me on Patreon, get those benefits. You can join me on Ko-Fi, get those benefits. Or commission me for stuff. You can commission me to make videos on Ko-Fi if you want, which is fun. Ray Bradbury suggested writing a short story every week for a year. Said it's impossible to write 52 bad stories in a row. I think if he saw Kindle Unlimited today, he would not agree with that. But you're definitely going to get better, right? If you just sit down and do it and write 365,000 words in a year, you're going to be halfway to writing the suck out. That's within 2 years, you should be able to be really good at whatever you're doing. Okay. And my thing about writing short stories, I always caution people about this, is like, don't write short stories until you start reading short stories. So if you're not familiar with short fiction as a form, you have to get familiar with it first. And once you're familiar with it, then it's going to be a lot easier to write short stories. You just kind of keep it short. I'm wondering how long this one's going to turn out. We're already at 3,000 words. I put in most of the details that we need, so we could probably do it in less than 20, right? And that'll be like a good little novella, and we'll put it out, and it'll be fun. So anyway, guys, I really do appreciate it. I will see you all next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I think I did all the relevant links. Keys to Relevant Creativity. We'll link that book too. Why not? It's a good book for getting your creative juices going. The other thing too about Ray Bradbury, I think, gave advice like everything you write you have to publish, and don't rewrite except the editorial order. you don't always know what is going to take off and what's going to interest people and what's going to be good, so you got to put it out there and see what people think of it. It's really helpful. Anyway, that's it, guys. Have a great one, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great, great day. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you guys as well.